what's too much information, but what's the most like key information that you need as a big man?
Look, everyone's different. Everyone. I know a lot of guys that want a lot of clips before games. I know guys that don't watch any film. For me, the biggest thing I wanted before games was just the shot chart for guys I'm playing going to be guarding. So if I'm guarding, potentially a 4 sometimes and a 5. So the Clippers would be DeAndre Jordan back then and Blake Griffin, and the backup would have been Ryan Hollins, for instance. I want those 3 printouts of. You can get those shot charts in the NBA that cut the half court into 16 spots, and it basically says from this block, from 10 feet, from there's the kind of little heat mark things, and it says he's 10 for 31 from this block, but he's 20 from 30 on this block. Mm-hmm. From the elbows, he's this. I want to know kind of what portions of the floor to push that player towards. So that's what I used a lot, and that worked well for me. Same as if I'm going to be involved in a lot of pick and rolls, and I'd look at, like a Dame Lillard, is he shooting more going left? Is he shooting the pull-up 3 more going left? Or because you'd notice nuances where a Dame maybe shoots it more going left from 3, and when he's going downhill with his right, he's trying to get to the bucket or shoot a floater. So those little, nuances don't lie in the stats. So that's what I wanted. There's some people that love getting clips, just quick hitters, 10 or 15 clips. I know coaches that positive reinforce, so some coaches that would give some positive clips of things you've done well after a game, so it just depends. But look, like you said, you don't want to overwhelm neither, and that's a problem that I see with a lot of assistant coaches is they try to overdo things. So my advice would be talk to the player, sit down at the start of the season and say, hey, what do you like? What do you like from an assistant? Do you like this? Do you like that? Even your pre-game shooting routine, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to bring you some things, or do you have your set routine you want me to rebound for? Like whatever it is, right? Have that open discussion and then get a feel for each other, and you never know what you can learn. But I think a good mix of it. In-game, some guys like feedback at halftime, probably 2 or 3 things. You're doing these 2 or 3 things well. You're doing these 2 or 3 things bad. Or you need to pick these things up. But yeah, you just don't want to overwhelm where guys are overthinking things, because then if you're getting 5, 10, 15 different bits of feedback from your head coach, assistant, other players, like you're just like, oh shit, Ray Giacoletti at Utah, I can't remember the exact things I spoke about on my pod. I think it was free throws, charges taken, and I think it was the rebound count. That were our 3 things that we checked. There were our goals before the game were to win those categories: shoot more free throws, take more charges, and be winning the rebound count. And we check it at halftime. And he'd be like, we're playing shit because these are our numbers. We're, none of these, we're not hitting any of the targets. And funnily enough, with that team, when we hit those 3 targets, it means we're engaged because we're taking charges. It means we're boxing out, and it means we're being aggressive, getting to the rim, to the free throw line. And when we hit those 3, I could be lying, but we ever rarely lost a game if we ticked all those 3 boxes in a game. Outside of shooting percentages and how much points we scored, we maybe lost 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20. So keep things simple. And I think that's the biggest thing, and just have that open feedback dialogue with your player.
So correlated, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's good to have that setting 3 goals early on, and then always checking back on it. But there's also like the coach had probably a good sample of what works and what doesn't work leading up until that point. So I think every coach has to figure out in terms of like what league they're playing in and what players they face, what teams they face, what works for them. But there's generally like this foundational rebounding, taking charges. I think that's a huge one.
Well, individually, and then individually, you could with an assistant. It could be, you're not a good post defender, so keep a guy under 50% if he catches it on the block, scoring on you, or it might be, you're not boxing out, or you give up second chance opportunities, whatever it is, and figure that out, and then challenge your player. Like, hey, okay, DeAndre Jordan, he's notorious for following his own shot and getting tip-ins. So this game, whenever he takes a shot against you, he gets 1 shot. And then you evaluate that way. Like at halftime, hey, he's had 2 second chance opportunities when you win the game. Come on, you need to get a body on him as soon as he shoots it. Don't go and chase the rebound. So it's things like that, and then challenging the player based on those, because they're real direct, easy things to do that you don't have to go to a film for at halftime or whatever. And that's similar to the 3 things for a team goal is to have it potentially for an individual as well.
But do you like to be challenged by an assistant coach as well, and certain like that, like pointing out that hey, like this, you need to pick it up because there's like he's going where he wants to go every time he catches it, or is that a
Yeah,
head coaching job?
especially. It depends. I mean, the head coach usually is probably going to address it in front of the group, but an assistant can pull you aside, not in front of everyone. I think sometimes put your arm around. It all depends. If you've got a coach that's a rah-rah in your face abusing you, coach, then I don't think the assistant. I've had assistants then would be try to double down on that, and the player would already be tuning them out because he's already been cussed out by the head coach, right? But if the head coach is you got the balance. If he's the cuss out guy as an assistant, you probably need to play good cop, bad cop. You know, get him as he's walking out towards the court, arm around him. Hey man, like coach, coach is a little angry, but you need to pick this up, pat him on the butt, and that's it. And then on the flip side, there's coaches that are quiet and too cool for school. Then the assistant might need to be like, come on man, like what are you doing? So you just got to read the room. No personalities. The biggest thing with coaching, in my opinion, these days. Assistant, head coach, even the video coach, it's managing personalities more than anything. I mean, at least in the NBA, there's not much in the way of X's and O's and, this new offense that's just taken the world by storm, or this new defensive principle. Like everything's copied by everyone pretty much. Same as probably in EuroLeague and Europe and internationally. Everything's who can do it harder, faster, better and make their shots and get stops. That's what it comes down to. But coaches that last can manage personalities. And you might have a player that is on your team that if you cuss him out, he's going to shut down into a shell. That there's another guy, Draymond Green, that if you get into it with him, he's going to go back at you, but that's a good thing because he's fired up. So you got to know your personalities. So you almost need a psychology degree to be a coach these days. I think that's just as valuable as the X's and O's, because the X's and O's are just becoming, to me, they're becoming the same team to team, especially space the floor, shooting more threes. It's all kind of becoming the same. But yeah, it's that knowing personalities, I think, is the one thing you just have to have as a coach. If you don't have that these days, like you're not gonna last long enough.
100% agree, and I think it's more about knowing people and then implementing that onto the players, because it's very instinctual. You have to have a certain experience, but you also have to have being honest to yourself when you're talking to players, and then in turn being honest to the player as well. And authenticity is my MO, like in everything I do. Like I'm gonna be the same way here on air and off air. Like there's no kind of difference in what I do and how I am. And I think in terms of coaches, they have to embrace that authenticity now more than they used to, because it used to be like putting on, like you talked about how Rick Majerus was on the court, and then as soon as he stepped off, it was off the court. It was a completely different person. Like there was just a different shift in personality. And it's in that era, as we talked, it's a different era. But I think that this human side is becoming, and it has become, a much more important factor in dealing with humans, dealing with people, understanding, having this empathy, and talking honestly about certain things, not only about X's and O's, but also building relationships off the floor.
Yeah, you can't have the two personalities anymore. I don't think you can. I think players see right through that. If you're, a guy that's not a rah-rah, in-your-face, going crazy guy, and you try to pull that one game out of 80, guys are going to be like, that's not you. and on the flip side, if you're, the rah-rah guy, and then you're trying to be calm, and like players can see that the personality that you develop over months and months and months, that's you. Like, so if you try to change it, alarm bells are ringing for guys. And that's not to say that sometimes it's warranted for a coach to go crazy every now and then and spend one of those bullets, but yeah, you have to be the same on the court, off the court, even keel, be that same personality. And I think players have much more respect, and they know where you stand. So with Majerus, the thing was like, he just went so overboard with all the abuse on the court that, you couldn't even, it would just rock your brain when you try to have a normal conversation with you off the court. Dudes are just like, did you hear what you were saying to me for the last 3 hours at practice? Like, now you're asking me about my mom and my dog and my sister and whatever. And that's what was weird about it, where guys just were shut down and didn't even want to hear it at that point. They, so much so that guys would try to stay away from him off the court, you know what I mean? Because they didn't want to have those awkward conversations. So you got to kind of keep it pretty even keel for sure.
Yeah.